Today I'm going to share how you can use airdrops to start from zero and work your way to 5 figures. Now, some people may think this is too good to be true, and I completely understand why people will be skeptical, but in today's video I'm going to explain exactly how you can get there and give some real scenarios and examples. If you do enjoy the video, please do drop a like, subscribe to the channel, but let's get started with step number 1. So step number 1 is all about using time-based airdrop opportunities to your advantage. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about here, but a very quick recap is the 2 different types of airdrops. You've got time-based, where you give your time in reward for tokens, and the other side of things is capital-based airdrops, where you may stake, lend, or bridge to create volume to put your money to work for you rather than your time. But obviously this video is all about starting from zero, so we're going to dive deeper into the time-based opportunities. So we have a few different options here, and option 1 is being involved in testnets. Now, a testnet is basically when a product is being tested before it goes live, and the project give the community, give those early supporters the opportunity to have a look at the product, to report feedback, to report bugs, and really just have an impact and shape the product before it goes live. And in reward, they will get tokens for their help. Now, a recent example of this was NGL or Entanglefy. They reported earlier this year that the testnet would be live and those early supporters could get involved and try it out. Now, they recently went live with their token, and those who participated thoroughly in the testnet did receive some free tokens. Option number 2 is getting involved in Web3 games. Now, it seems too good to be true for sure here that you just play games and receive tokens, but that actually is the case. And a recent example of this was the popular game Pixels. It was listed on Binance, and those who were playing the game in the early stages, rather than airdrop farming, genuine users did receive tokens for their participation. And the last example is social media farming. This is something that's picked up momentum over the last few weeks, and it's all about giving the projects exposure on social media. So an example here is Param, which is currently live still. I talked about it in a recent video, so go and check that out if you want more information. But the idea is essentially that you create an account, you log in, you can see the tasks that the project have set, and it's all around liking, mentioning, retweeting certain tweets, and just genuinely giving them exposure on social media. Now, the idea here is the more tasks that you do, the more points you will rack up, and the bigger the reward will be when they finally launch their token. And my biggest tip for you when getting involved in these free airdrop opportunities is to double down on the ones that you have the most conviction in. Now, there are only so many hours in a day. It's very difficult to farm every single airdrop. But the thing is, if you are going to get involved in a testnet and just do one transaction, if you're going to play a Web3 game for 10 minutes and call it quits, or mention a project once on social media and leave it at that, there's probably no point even doing that, because the points that you rack up, the rewards that you're going to get, are just not worth it. There will be minimum requirements and minimum criteria. So it's very important that you pick the ones that you like the look of the most, and then you can double down on them and make sure that you give it your all and land that airdrop. So at this point, you might be thinking that these examples that I've just give are great, but a lot of them are now over and done with. So how do you find the next big airdrop, especially for those starting from zero? Now, first of all, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel, because every example that I've just give, I mentioned in real time when they were live on the channel, and I've mentioned many more and will continue to do so in the future. So definitely subscribe to the channel. And if you check out the description, I'm going to leave a handful of Twitter accounts that you can follow that share the best airdrop alpha in real time. So we're going to fast forward a little bit now. We're going to assume that you've got involved in some free airdrop opportunities, you've built up a small amount of capital, but what's next? What are the options that you actually have? So now we're going to share 5 different opportunities, 5 different options that you have where you can put that capital to work and grow that stack even larger. And then I'll also share a couple of examples where I have a certain amount of money, whether it be a smaller amount, a slightly larger amount, and then I'll share exactly what I would do with that capital. So option number one, just hold on to the coins that you've received. It's very simple, very straightforward. At this point, if you've been pretty involved in the project, you probably know quite a lot about it. At that point, you might have a decent opinion on whether you're bullish or not on it. And then from that point, you can just do the most simple thing and hold on to them tokens going into this bull market and see if they increase in value. And the next option is to sell them coins you received to rotate into other projects that you have more conviction in. Now, because you have no capital, you may not have had the opportunity to invest in a project that you really like the look of, but now you can sell the tokens that you've received and move that money into these projects. Now, you don't have to sell it all. You can sell half, a quarter, whatever works for you, but you have the option now to invest in that project that you've been following for a long time but never had the opportunity to invest in. And very similar to the last option, this time you can sell them tokens that you received in the airdrop and rotate into tokens that you can then stake. And this gives you an opportunity to potentially land other airdrops. Now, the criterias, the minimum amounts is a very tricky thing to follow because every project is different and they set their own criterias. But this is definitely something to consider. Option 4 is to start bridging and building up volume and transactions to land alternative airdrops again. Now, this has its complications around it because of the transaction fees, and this will eat into your overall portfolio amount. So you have to be very careful with the transactions because of them fees to ensure you don't damage your portfolio before getting to a certain size. And option 5 is actually nothing to do with the capital that you've just received. It's about continuing to use testnets, to get involved in Web3 games, and to continue social media farming. Just because you've received some capital doesn't mean that you should stop doing these things. You should still be on the lookout for new opportunities, because at the end of the day, it's going to continue to increase the portfolio and increase the amount of capital that you have to work with. So they are the 5 obvious options that spring to mind for me when it comes to building up a small stack of capital. But now we're going to play out the scenarios that I mentioned earlier. So first scenario is about if I'd built up a couple of free airdrop opportunities and landed myself a portfolio size of around $600. So which options would I feel would be applicable to me after grabbing this amount? So we're going to go through each option. Number 1 was just holding on to the coins that we received. This is definitely a worthwhile option because it's simple, and if you have built up that conviction in the project, then you may as well keep holding the bag into the bull market. Option 2 is around rotating into other coins, and I also feel this is a viable option. Now, I definitely would be mindful of spreading too thin across a number of coins, but if the airdrop has served its purpose and you no longer want to hold that coin, it may be time to rotate into that project that you've had your eyes on for a while. Number 3 was all around staking. This is a no-go for me with $600 because, to be completely honest, it's very unlikely that you're going to reach the minimum amounts to receive other airdrops. And number 4 was around bridging and getting involved with potential airdrop opportunities. That way, this again is a no-go, just because when you've only got $600, them transaction fees, especially on Ethereum, are going to eat away at that portfolio very, very quickly, and it's just not worth it. It's just not a net positive for a portfolio of that size. And then the 5th option was continuing to get involved in those free opportunities, testnets, gaming, social activity. And like I said, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't continue to do this. And now we move on to example number 2, and this time we have a portfolio size of $2,500. So we've really been grinding on those free airdrop opportunities, and maybe we got a bit of luck. Maybe some of the ones that we landed continue to run in price. So we've left ourselves with 2.5k. So what actually changes here? I mean, when it comes to options number 1 and 2, which could be holding onto them coins or rotating in projects we have more conviction in, that is exactly the same. There's no reason why these wouldn't be an option. Number 3, when it comes to staking, this is still probably a no-go for me. I just think that if you're going to stake, let's say with the full bag, you're really limiting your options, you're not diversified enough. If something goes wrong or that project rugs, you've got all your eggs in one basket, and it's probably not a good idea. So if you're going to split the bag into a smaller amount to then stake, you still may struggle to reach eligibility criteria. So again, the risk reward is still not there. The change for me is that bridging at number 4, that definitely does become an option now, but still being very careful because Ethereum is very nasty. The transaction fees can sometimes be $50, $100, and it's still eating a decent percentage of that portfolio. But if you're going to bridge over to other chains, L2s, maybe Solana, ZK Sync, Blast, these new shiny L2s or L1 ecosystems, then the fees are going to be minimal, and you can definitely build up some transactions, build up some volume, and potentially land other airdrops such as Layer 0, for example. And then lastly, again, number 5, testnets, free airdrop opportunities, they are still more than viable. If you can land a airdrop through a testnet, through gaming, and it works out to be around, say, $250, it may not sound a lot compared to that 2.5k, but it's 10% of your portfolio's value. It is still definitely worthwhile doing. There is no doubt about that. In fact, if you even built up a portfolio up to 10k, I'd still be doing testnets if you've got the time. And the reason for this is because if you landed it at, $100, yeah, it's a small amount compared to your portfolio now, but in a bull run, that $100 could very easily turn into 500, 1,000. And if you have a number of these on the go, it's soon going to stack up and that portfolio is going to build very quickly. So that is all for today's video. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it can get you started on your airdrop and maybe even your crypto journey. The main takeaway here is that you really do want to get involved in those free airdrop opportunities, and you do want to follow the accounts that I mentioned to keep up with the latest opportunities. If you do have any questions, if you have any comments, please drop them below. I'll try to reply to as many as possible. And whilst you're there, do subscribe to the channel for future airdrop content. Like the video, your support is greatly appreciated. But in the meantime, please do trade safe, invest safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.